I'm Bill.
And I'm Candace.
And we're the Disruptors.
Hey, we have a great show today, Bill.
We have the doctor back in the house.
You know what? I'm always excited when Dr. Munson comes
and people say they don't make house calls. He makes house calls.
He comes here to
Yes.
the studio.
Yes. In St. Worth. See, we're lucky.
I don't know. Would you go and see Bill at his house?
No.
I think I would.
Would you? Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay, well,
I'd be kind.
last time I was there, the detectives were out the door. And, they were serving a warrant. So I'm just saying, it's a little bit, you kind of bring your life in your own hands.
So I have to bring my bodyguard with me.
Just bring your bodyguard.
I got it.
It's reality TV. We like to keep
not a
things
problem.
fresh,
Well, I'm excited to talk about what you've brought to the table today because I think it's an important issue, and I think that our listeners need to know. And I think that a lot of times there's so much misinformation and talking heads, and everybody has their own opinions and viewpoints, but there's always just the truth. And so thank you for bringing that to our attention today.
Awesome.
So, Bill, you want to go ahead and tell us what we're going to talk about today?
No, you're doing such a lovely job today.
Okay, that's a coward's way out.
Well, this subject is a bit touchy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind. We're going to talk
go
about
ahead.
the risk factors of oral and injected contraceptives.
Yes.
So talk to us, because we get inundated with,
Well, television inundates us. I mean, everywhere we go.
ads, everything
Yeah.
is safe, everything, live your life.
Yes.
But
Yes.
we're not really thinking about what tomorrow's going to bring, with these different types of medications.
Yeah. Well, in this particular topic, there's not a week that goes by that I don't have a woman or young woman in my office that doesn't tell me that they're on birth control to regulate a cycle. And, every once in a while I'll actually find a woman who's actually taking it just for the purpose of what it really is, for contraception. But they'll literally come in because the medical doctors put them on some type of birth control pill because their cycle is such a mess. And what they're doing is they're saying, hey, we're going to regulate your cycle. We're going to give you a pill.
How is that even being responsible? I mean, I'm curious because, isn't there other ways? I mean, stress, isn't there other factors that can play into a cycle that's...
I mean, you and I would consider, why wouldn't you just ask, why is your cycle a mess?
Yes.
Why not fix it instead of just try to stop it? And then that makes sense to you and I, maybe. But maybe people don't realize that there possibly is a way because they go to a doctor and he doesn't have another alternative. And he just says, oh, gosh, you have painful periods, they're heavy, whatever's happening. Hey, I can put you on the pill and it will help. And that's all they're told. And they hear help and they're like, absolutely, that's what I want. I want help.
It's convenient.
So, yeah, it's convenient and maybe misinformation. We didn't know that there were another, an option, or why did it actually do what it did? So maybe that's a great place to begin, because if 90% of the women out there are doing birth control because of cycle issues that, let's say, are under the age of 22, and they're trying just to survive month to month, maybe we need to chat about why does it become dysregulated? Because women in the past, yes, they might have had some discomfort and there were things happening, but nowadays it's pretty much everybody. Mm-hmm. And why does everybody have a cycle once a month that's miserable?
So can you address that before we even move on?
Sure.
Let's go ahead and take a look at what are some highlights, or the top, I don't know how many, but what are the reasons why a cycle might
Got it.
go sideways?
The cycle is absolutely regulated by stress in one's life. So think about this. It's 800 years ago, where there's nothing around. We're in the middle of nowhere. I have a wife. I'm, we can say what it is, American Indian. I'm an American Indian on the plains, and I have a spouse, and we have a community of people that live with us, and there's pretty much safety. There's not a lot to do all the time. Our biggest concern is pretty much food and water.
Sure.
And some shelter. And so, but we have a tight-knit community and we protect each other and we're banded together and we're doing things and stress is low. Then all of a sudden stress will really hit, but it's a short duration.
Sure.
But nowadays we've got everything's due. I've got to get a car at 16. I've got to make grades so I can become a senior.
Yes.
I've got to do what I need to do to get into college. I'm competing with everybody else. I've got to get through this grade to get to the next grade of meaningless information that really isn't that important to what I'll do the rest of my life, just to get to the next level. And there's tests now every week. And so now I've got more stress, and I've got to do homework that's due by a certain date. We can see that the mental stress and pressure builds. Well, what does that do to us? It short circuits our sex hormones into stress hormones, because if you and I are stressed, do we want to be having a child under stressful conditions?
No,
we don't. And so we don't want to bring a child into a stressed environment. That isn't healthy. And so stress constantly in the system, the brain's just saying, look, you can't even take care of yourself. Why would you want to bring a child into the world?
Well, that's exactly right.
So we're going to shut down your cycle, and we're going to totally dysregulate it. And now women are coming in with, they know when their period's coming. It's a week of misery, or maybe it's only a couple days if they're lucky, or maybe it's 2 weeks of living, hell.
Oh, heavens, yes.
And I'll have women come in that will literally be bleeding 2 to 3 weeks a month.
Oh, that's awful.
So here's the cycles that we come to, and the answer is yes, we have to deal with stress, but now we got to be able to support a body to handle this new stress load that seems to be coming on over and over and over. And men aren't any better. We constantly have that stress that we're handling too, of bills, house payment, all these things that it seems like we're under the gun. And let's say we now have a wife that's stressed out, and she's dealing with the bills, and now she's not handling her emotions very well, and now we've got a guy that has to handle all this. And we can say, well, the woman has to handle all this if he's got a job that he hates, and he's stressed to the max, and now he's dysregulated, and so it's stressing out her. I mean, it goes both directions. I don't want to pick on one or the other, but now we have two dysfunctional individuals hormonally that are now going to try to have a successful relationship,
and that's not going to work out.
Well, and I read an article, or it was just a blip, that which we're not going to go into, but it goes back into the stress, and that's that anxiety medications are really at an epidemic numbers.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And that by the time, I think it was 2030, we're going to reach, where almost the whole population is going to be taking some kind of, anti-stress whatever.
Yes.
That's a whole other show.
Yes, it is.
But putting out there, for those that don't understand, because maybe they don't take anything, it's actually stress is a huge factor.
It is.
And I didn't realize that that it has some effects on the body, but what those effects are, show up in different symptoms.
Yes. Okay, so let's kind of talk about a little bit in the body. We're going to get just a little technical, but these are things that as we talk about them more and more, and as women are exposed to them more and more, I think they're going to be happy that they understand the difference between an estrogen and progesterone. Mm-hmm. And so if I have high estrogen, I'm under stress a lot because that's my lifestyle. And my food has lots of estrogens in it because it maybe has a lot of chemicals. My house has a lot of chemicals that are estrogenic because most of the chemicals around us are estrogenic in nature. And so not only are we becoming more estrogen there, and that now is dysregulating the cycle, it's dropping my second half of the month progesterone levels. We want those progesterone levels high because that's progestation. That's to have a baby. Sure. Estrogen only spikes once to ovulate and have an egg, and now it goes away, it's out of the system, and progesterone stays high for a period of time. When estrogen is too high, progesterone is going to crash in that second half of the cycle, and when that progesterone crashes, we now have a woman it's difficult to get pregnant. She is now proliferating her uterine lining, so she has way more uterine lining, so her cycle's really heavy when she finally sloughs on her period. Mm-hmm. So we have all these complications from this high estrogen that constantly stays there. And stress now is going to pull progesterone out of the lineup, so to speak. Every time that I'm under stress, I'm going to convert progesterone as a woman. If we look at a woman's body, she's going to take, under stress, progesterone and convert it to cortisol. Cortisol is our main stress hormone. And cortisol makes us gain weight. It makes us, our memories not hold, doesn't convert to long-term memory. It messes up digestion. We now begin to burn muscle instead of fat, and we start to store fat, all from cortisol.
It's that interesting.
And so here, under stress, we're taking progesterone, we're pulling it out of the system, and we're converting it. So progesterone goes down, 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 estrogen goes up, 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 and now we have this imbalance. Well, how do they try to regulate a woman's cycle? By giving her what?
Birth control.
Yes, and what's in it? It's mostly Estrogen.
Oh.
So we're over countering it right off the get-go.
Yep, they've now learned, and they put a little progesterone in it too. So there are some of those out there that they are doing, some of the right things. They're understanding the cycle better, but I digress. And so here we have a system that's really messed up, but we're going to make it really totally dysregulated so that we can shut down the ovulation once a month. That's what we're going for. So we're going to shut down ovulation, and so that we completely take away the cycle. And they tell them that this is regulating their cycle, so that they won't be in pain and have painful periods anymore. And it isn't. It's complete dysregulation. They've now, succeeded in complete dysregulation. So when we have a young woman that goes on birth control pill, she now doesn't produce any progesterone. And the more stressed out a young woman is, the more progesterone she's robbing from herself, and now she's becoming more estrogenic. But why is that so vitally important? And here's the kicker. If you haven't listened to anything yet, until now, please turn up the volume in your mind. When we do not produce progesterone in the second half of cycle for women and run it up nice and high like we're supposed to, breast tissue does not mature.
Oh, okay.
Well, and I'm going to go back thinking that, we as a society have taken birth control younger and younger and younger.
Yes.
And so, you start that, let's say at 14. And I'm just you saying that, look at the long-term effect that would have. If you're not being able to even develop normal breast tissue, that opens up, I think, in a sense, really Pandora's box here.
Oh, it does.
So I'll shut up and let you speak, but it just creates a whole bunch.
So now you have, I hadn't planned on mentioning this, but just to mention in passing, we have these women now with real, if you will, deformities.
Yeah.
Of breast tissue. And could it be corrected? I think it can. I really do. If we can do some things correct to do it and to get hormones back moving in the right direction. But more so, if we allow a tissue not to mature, it's growing and replicating. That's its job until it becomes mature, and then it shuts down. The pituitary is saying, hey, now it's time to stop your growth and stop that shenanigans and now just be mature. So if I don't tell a cell to be mature, what does it keep doing?
I think it just keeps going.
It keeps replicating. Do we want uncontrolled replication of certain cells in our body?
No.
Absolutely not. No.
And that's what estrogen does. It's a growth hormone. It says replicate. Progesterone says mature and stop replicating. Be mature. Do your job like you're supposed to. So both hormones have their place, but the body sees estrogen as a true toxin. It doesn't necessarily progesterone and testosterone and those, even cortisol, but it really views estrogen very differently. And so it's trying to pull out estrogen constantly from the blood. So as we have higher and higher estrogen, we have women on birth control pill that start gaining weight. Gosh, I have no idea why. Well, we do know why, because estrogen tells fat cells to grow.
Sure.
So now they start putting on weight. Well, fat cells inevitably start producing their own estrogen. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is, right off the get-go, yes.
So here we have people that will start gaining weight, then all of a sudden it's uncontrolled.
And they just keep on going.
Yeah, they're producing enough estrogen in their system. Men or women, doesn't matter. Both do it. And so these are the troubles, because now we have even more estrogen. How much more are we going to have cancer cells? More. So that, in and of itself, just understanding that process would say, wow, I really need to do a better job about taking care of my body if I'm a woman, in terms of what I should be eating, how I should be detoxifying each month, how should I be watching my cycle each month? Because every part of it means something to you. And so when you start understanding how your body's really working, it's you can literally hear the fine-tuning of the engine, so to speak. And now you're regulating yourself much, much better. That's why it's so important to understand, hey, estrogen spikes once, goes away very quickly. Progesterone's long-term, then falls off at the end of the month, and we have our period, and we slough for 3 to 5 days, maybe 1 day of moderate heaviness, not that much heaviness, but then tapering off very quickly and being done. That's a normal cycle, not,